All right, we're getting ready to go live here. My name is Jamie J. I'm the CEO and founder of Bottleneck Distant Assistant. But I'm really stoked. If you happen to catch the live stream that we did with Elaine Pofelt, the gentleman I'm talking to today, Wade Forbes, did this amazing visual representation of the notes. Like he illustrated everything out. It was so flipping cool. And I said, I have to talk to this guy. So stand by, and we'll be jumping into a conversation with the one and only amazing Wade Forbes. And I'm going to have him hold up the illustration while he does this. It's going to be fantastic. So we'll be back in about 38 seconds, and you'll meet the one and only Wade Forbes. All right, we're here. We are live with Bottleneck. My name is Jamie J. I am the CEO and founder of Bottleneck Distant Assistants, but that's not why we're here today. Today, we are here to talk to Wade Forbes. I'm really big about helping people stop the bottleneck in their own business. Typically, that's me. That's you. That's whoever is leading that organization. If you're finding yourselves doing a lot of things you really shouldn't be doing, micromanaging, things like that, taking away from your zone of genius, the thing that you just thrive on, love doing, then this is a great live stream for you. And this is exactly why I enjoy talking to people like Wade. Wade Forbes, we're going to be talking about pivoting for the right reasons at the right time. I love that. He's an illustrator of Redtail Communications. And why is Wade someone that can help you stop the bottleneck in your business? Well, let me tell you. Wade began his illustrating and sketchnoting to pursue his true passion of creating art every day. His love of drawing began as a child and was put on hold because he believed he could not make a living as an artist. Oh, but wait. After spending the last 16 years working in cybersecurity and consulting with the Department of Defense and the intelligence community, he's now bringing conversations to life and creating art for his government clients, nonprofits, commercial businesses, his church, and many more. He'd like to live out the rest of his days covering services that help inspire others to do good work and follow their dreams. And you may be asking yourself, well, what the heck? How can you make a living illustrating and stuff like that? I'm going to get ready to share this with you, and Wade's going to tell you. So without any further ado, please allow me to introduce you to the one and only Wade Forbes. How are you, sir?
I'm great. Thanks, Jamie. What a nice intro.
I am so pumped for this. And before you tell us a little bit about who you are and your background, and we get into this conversation about pivoting, I wonder if you could do me a favor and show the notes that you took from my conversation. This is absolutely fantastic. I absolutely love this. You drew I wonder if you could explain that a little bit. Like, what is your thought process when you note take like that?
So this is a technique called sketchnoting, and it's a way to capture the conversation for what I'm hearing and what I'm thinking, and then it's something I can share later. So it's a private technique that's different than graphic recording, which a lot of folks experience at conferences and in vision sessions in their jobs where you see somebody in the room drawing live. So I start with the title here in the center, and I work my way usually from up over here in the top, and I work my way around the page. And it just helps me capture the quotes and things that could help me and things that highlight the skills of the people I'm hearing. It's really helped me pivot careers entirely because I'm a professional listener now. It's actually sometimes funny for me to be doing the talking in a meeting because I love to have my head down, capturing all the thoughts, drawing something that could be stimulating that puts you right back in that moment the next time you look at that page.
Well, I want to get your background, a little bit of who you are and what you do and all of that. But I do want to kick this off by saying that what you do is simply amazing. And in a previous conversation that you had, you said that it really helped you to become a better listener. And I thought that was amazing. Last year, my word of the year was listen. Listen intentfully and soulfully to engage notably. And I learned so much more when I just shut up and listen sometimes. And so I'm going to do that very thing right now. I'm going to shut up and listen to us learn a little bit more about who you are and, tell us a little bit of your story.
Sure. So I have a theater degree. I was going to school and I was acting and I was doing plays for 7 years. And I got to the point where I realized if I was any good at it, I'd never be home. So I said, okay, this was a great experience. I'm going to pack this career up and try something else. I moved to Baltimore. I was volunteering at the aquarium and I met an executive working at Booz Allen Hamilton, a strategic consulting firm. And she said, I could really use somebody like you to just come in and learn the ropes and manage a bunch of things on my team. And I said, all right, let's give it a shot. So I started some commercial consulting. And from there, my experience grew. I was the out of the box, non-traditional, unorthodox guy joining all these teams. And when I went from the commercial side, I landed on the military intelligence side, and they needed somebody in their teams who hadn't been traditionally trained and hadn't done the same things that they'd done. So I became the person that was presenting unique and alternative ideas a lot of the time because I didn't understand the traditions that the military had trained all their personnel in. So that brought me into cybersecurity, and my job in cybersecurity became to think like the enemy. And it was a really great job because it was my job to have empathy for the people that we were talking about and present the ideas that people were afraid to say in front of their boss in the room. So it got to the point, and this was probably about 2 years ago, where the people I was working for, they were so inundated with information and very busy to read what I was writing that I started to draw. I said, let me look around, find out what's out there, what kind of careers exist on how I could start to present information in a whole new and unique way to get people's attention. And I stumbled upon graphic recording and some folks in the industry that were doing it, and they trained me and they sent me out on jobs, and I learned how to draw live. And then I found out there's this sketchnoting technique where I could just sit here and draw during this whole meeting right now. When I'm done, I can show you my notes and send it and share it. And when we have so much going on in our lives and we want to come back to a moment, do you want to pull a notebook off your shelf full of words, or do you want to pop out a picture and say, yeah, that was my idea, or these are the things we were talking about. I know exactly what I'm going to do now with that stuff. So my pivot after 16 years was scary, but COVID-19 helped because all those clients dropped off right at the end of March, and I had to have something going. And about a year before that, I had began this journey. And so I have a lot to be thankful for, a lot of people supporting me, and a lot of people that really want art now that they're in a virtual world. They want to see something. They want to feel something. So I don't think I've ever done that story that fast. So thanks, Jamie, for asking.
That's fantastic. So here's the cool thing. From my perspective, the way that you made me feel was like, it made me feel so good. It made me feel that what Elaine and I were talking about was resonating, that someone appreciated that conversation. And that's the goal here. Like the goal is to create content that people need, want, and just want to embrace it and absorb it and that kind of thing without getting too woo-woo. By you taking that time and posting like, hey, here was my notes of this conversation, I was like, wow, Wade enjoyed that conversation. Like he really enjoyed the time spent there. You know what I did? Because you made me feel good, I shared the living daylights out of that. I was talking about it. I ran out after that presentation. I called my wife. She was working out back on the shed. Would you put a little drawing of a shed on there? And then I showed you right after that. Yeah, there's the shed. And then I showed you later on when we talked, and I turned my camera on my computer and showed you the shed. And it looks almost like the shed. You had never seen it before. It was fantastic. But I ran out there and I said, hey, Sarah, you've got to see this. She goes, oh my gosh, that's incredible. And it's just really a great way to not only understand and maybe think about the conversation in a different way, but then all of a sudden sharing it, it creates other conversations. And then look at where we're at now. Now we're talking to each other on a live stream about how awesome that experience was. And it's just magical to me that you have such an amazing gift. How long have you been working on this craft?
So it's funny you say that. I've always doodled and gotten in trouble and been accused of not paying attention. And about 6 or 7 years ago, Harvard Business School put out an article that said people who doodle actually retain 33% more information than those that don't. And it was a small victory for guys like me who's been accused of doing things and not paying attention. I was listening, but now it's the kind of the time of my career to say what you're listening to matters. So are you going through the same motions? Are you always having the same conversation? Are you doing the same mundane things that don't make you feel excited or alive anymore? And the reality was listening to you and Elaine was inspiring for me as an entrepreneur. It helps me perfect my craft. I was actually experimenting what it would look like on this gray paper just that day to see how it would feel when I could bring the colors together. And everything worked because I think we do have to start paying closer attention to the conversations that we're having and the people that we're listening to and the influences that we have and drawing what they're saying. Everybody wins. So when I was exposed to this about 2 years ago, I learned that there's special lettering classes and ways that you can bring information together so that people can see it. But of all places, I actually perfected this in my church. I started bringing my sketch pad and my markers to church, and I'd sit there in the pew and I would just listen to everybody who was presenting and the ideas. And I'm never going to be a person that's going to get super religious in a conversation like this, but really it helped me become a better person by listening, think about ways my family could be better in the community, and bring that message with me throughout the week. So now imagine that I'm talking to other entrepreneurs and people that have ideas and ways to help me. I can carry that with me wherever I go. I can recall this conversation because I drew it. And now it's a question of who needs this in their life, but also who wants to learn how to do this, because it wasn't a huge time investment to learn how to visually depict my notes, but I can remember almost everything that I draw now, which has been a huge, it's really pushed me further than I ever thought I could go as an entrepreneur in such a short amount of time.
Knowledge is power. And a lot of that knowledge for me, it's very hard to retain stuff. I could do something yesterday and I'll forget about it, or I'll forget a name, or, just easy things like that. And I imagine that's probably why I have my notepad right here. Now look at how crappy this looks compared to what you've done. But when I write stuff down, it does help me retain it a little bit. And what I've found is there's a difference in listening. Instead of, once you listen, there's a big difference in not listening, but reacting versus responding. I think what you're doing is an incredible exercise to learn how to respond to certain stimulus, conversation, whatever that is. Much too often do I react. And that's one of the biggest challenges I so desperately need to overcome. And I think this is a great lesson. And I wonder if maybe you can elaborate on this, because I would assume by you saying that after you've done this, you started remembering more things. No matter the conversation, whether it's something that you believe in or something that you don't, still listening to that and taking time to writing it down and formulating maybe a response, or maybe your response is simply designing this incredible piece of note art, right, that you can hand to somebody to acknowledge, hey, that's what I heard. You make them feel good. I think that's a great way of doing it, instead of that combative reaction that so many of us, especially with the environment that we're going through right now with COVID, as of the time of this recording, the election's coming up. There's a lot of people, there's a lot of friction out there when disagreements are out there. But if you see people listening more, it's almost like when I'm talking to you, you're listening right now, you almost have a little grin, like you're getting ready, right? So when I turn this over, you're going to have an incredible response. And I know I'm kind of putting you on the spot there, but this is powerful stuff.
I think you get to a point in your life where you have to earn your thought or your chance to talk. I think in the beginning part of my career, people looked at me as a defense contractor and I had to have all the answers, and I just had to start talking, and people would turn to me and say, Wade, what do you think? And now I can say, Jamie, after listening to you for the last hour about that particular topic, I either have 2 questions or a couple of suggestions or 5 things I'm going to take with me into my career based on what you've done. It's a very different way to begin talking if I've been listening to you truly for an hour. Where I worked in the Department of Defense, there were some really amazing, brilliant brains. And you'd ask some people a question, and the answer to your question came on minute 57 of their answer. And do you have the patience to really listen to a brilliant mind like that and truly learn about a topic or a threat in the world or something that's going on? And I developed that discipline, but then I wasn't able to take the conversation with me and do something with it. And that's where the visual part came in. So I think the listening part has been amplified by drawing, but now in a world with so much noise, if I can bring you to something beautiful, like you were talking a moment ago about your notepad, I'm looking at your logo and I'm saying, what are 3 things that you have to do today that you could put in each blue of your Bottleneck logo? And what does that visual do for you as a way of bringing your tasks to life, or your milestones or things you want to celebrate with your coworkers and your wife because it's your company? But that visual right there could change everything from just a notebook that was once bulleted lists of text. So it's not heavily complicated. It's just something you have to place attention on. And I'm really fortunate to have been surrounded by people that welcomed me into this industry of graphic recording and sketchnoting. That's it. So many industries are cutthroat. And here they say, oh, you can draw, Wade? We want to help you. Come be with us. And you know why they said it, Jamie? They said it because let's say there was a boss lording over top of you, and they said, okay, Jamie, fine, go find someone who could draw for our meetings. I'll give you $500. You can give it a shot and see if it's worth it. If you can't find somebody, that window has come and gone in the blink of an eye. And now you're back to the same mundane meetings. So this industry of graphic recording and sketchnoting is saying we need more people doing it so it becomes more mainstream, so that we can feel the way you felt when you saw this from just your expertise and your conversations with a dear old friend who you highly respect and admire, where good people are doing good work. So to come into an environment like that, which is not threatening, which is not cutthroat, where people are helping one another and we can improve the conversation, it's a win for everybody. So I feel really fortunate that I had that chance. And it has made me a better listener in my family. This isn't just a professional thing that I've been able to do. It helps me listen to my sons. My sons actually do this when they're in school now. And
have they gotten in trouble for doodling?
2 teachers they've come around because we've talked about it. And there's actually some high school art departments that want me to come and speak to them too, because this was not presented to me in the late 90s in high school. They said, Wade, you could be an art teacher or you could draw caricatures in the mall. Those are your 2 options. And I said, what if I don't want to do those things? And they said, sorry, bud. Don't know what to tell you.
Work for the DOD.
Nobody told me this was a thing, and I can support my family doing it. So I have a lot to be thankful for.
Oh my gosh. Who's an ideal person that, I mean, I'm sure it would be somewhat similar to me, but I mean, who would that ideal person be that like, oh, I need to call Wade. Wade would be, we need Wade here.
So I think when you've had the same meeting 2 or 3 times in a row and you need a breakthrough, you need somebody who can listen and reflect back to you. Hey, Jamie, this was a really awesome part of the conversation where there was tons of flow, but I could tell you guys touched on a really good idea and you might be missing something. You may want to spend some more time here. So at the end of these listening sessions, I've done this for a number of different industries, insurance, agriculture. At the end of those 8 hours when I draw for them, and I give them a summary of what I heard, they have an understanding of what that corporate culture sounds like. They've actually taken new employees and walked them down the wall of the charts that I've drawn for them about what it's like to work there and some of the things that they have on the horizon. So I think people that are looking to connect in a different way because of that, the visual learners that are out there want to call somebody like me to say, how do we bring this conversation to life? Because a brochure or a PowerPoint slide or an email just isn't it. But if you saw a picture of what this COVID clock was doing to your organization and how you want to turn back the clock, or how you want to make sure that you are better than when you started, better off now than when you started COVID because of the things you were being mindful of. I'm not saying it's always simple, but I'm saying something visual can help people really feel connected to a conversation or a message or a vision or a strategy or other things that we have to kind of rally around.
Well, I mean, and people learn so many different ways, by hearing or by visual. I'm a big visual person. that's probably why that really resonated with me. I'm telling you, I'm a huge fan. It's amazing what you do. It is a gift, I think. And you're right. You started seeing that stuff on there. And I like what you mentioned earlier. This doesn't just affect your business, it affects your entire life. I don't believe in work-life balance. I believe in life balance, period. Because you gotta own all of it. You can't turn on, turn off. There's a separation, yes, but I think it's all life. And if you don't share a similar passion for your professional as you do in your personal, I think you're gonna drop the ball. You're not gonna have fun. You're not gonna enjoy it. And that's why I'm so stoked for you that you're doing something you're so passionate about. And it's just an incredible opportunity to see how you're taking this ball and running with it, and how it's affecting not only your professional life but your personal life. I think it's just absolutely, it's amazing. I'm deeply enthralled with everything that you're doing. If these sessions, so it's 8 hours long. I'm wondering if maybe you can kind of take me through a session a little bit to where you're seeing these representations. When you're done with this drawing, are you doing a report? Are you talking to them? Are you kind of walking them through this as you're going through that?
Great question. So for me to break away and do that pivot, so we talked, the title of this talk is about the pivot. I felt like I had to make a bold claim. And I said a couple of the claims where I don't want to sit at a desk anymore. I don't want to get paid to type anymore. And I want to make my living from drawing. And so fast forward, the visual summaries that I create for the clients that hire me is my way of saying I didn't have to type up a thing. There's no report for this. And they've actually recorded the summaries of me playing back to them what I heard, and highlights of their talks and what the keynote said, and ways that they can take that information forward and have a synopsis of, there we were, October 2020. What were we talking about? I was in a workshop in February 2020 this year, drawing about how COVID-19 could impact them. And the folks that I was drawing for weren't really sure how it was going to impact their company, but a lot of them didn't feel it was going to make it to the United States. I still have chills about drawing that picture of a person with a mask, not knowing what the future was going to hold.
Wow.
But you capture that in a moment, like drawing that picture. If I could show it to you now and seeing it, you can't put that into words. It's a visual, and that's all it had to be. Is we're not sure what the future looks like, but we don't think it's going to happen to us. And I'll tell you, there's probably people that were at that conference, and this happened at many conferences, where somebody was sick. So it's about capturing a moment and being there and knowing where you were then and maybe where you are now. It's just a neat way to look at it. I've been drawing daily quotes through COVID. I'll show you. Here's part of my wall. So I'm going on a little field trip. Maybe I'm breaking protocol for live stream, but I draw these daily quotes of what I'm thinking about during COVID, and ways this was day 212 of being home. And it's an Albert Einstein quote, and it's kind of making people remember and realize that a lot of people are going to have a hard time with your ideas, but you have to believe and trust in your own ideas. And so I surround myself with art. I put it everywhere now, and I keep saying I got to cover the walls. And this is something that makes me feel alive. And I'm trying to figure out now how I can bring those into more places that are going to be useful for people.
Okay, so that Albert Einstein, was that skulls on his head?
Yes. So
okay, can you tell me how you came up with that? Amazing.
So I think, this particular picture was each morning I sit down and I meditate over what the day is going to be like. What are the things that I want to think about, and what are the things that are kind of on my mind, and how do I want to approach the day? And the skulls on the head were really about what I've encountered when I have to tell people that are professionals. Some professionals look at me and say, okay, Wade, you're making the most money you've ever made in cybersecurity. Why would you ever walk away? And I said, because I'm not happy. It doesn't make me feel alive. I was meant to draw. And so I think the skulls were a reminder that doesn't feel like living to me anymore. And so I put that in there, and I look over at it. I actually sold it to a guy. I'm meeting him at a brewery locally next week. I never expected to sell any artwork like that. And I've been pulling out pages of books that I don't read anymore and drawing on them. So and we'll see where it goes.
That's incredible. You're so creative.
Thank you. Imagine if that showed up in one of your team emails, not that particular illustration, but quotes and visuals that kind of talk about what you want to be. I would love to start drawing in your bottleneck B, or talk about where the bottleneck is in your own organization that you have to break free of with everybody else. When you get to the top of I love the image. There's so many opportunities to draw for it. And that's part of my quest, is to just cover the canvas.
We're going to do it.
Just a matter of time.
Do it. So I'm going to go out and I'm going to say I'm hiring Wade Forbes to do that.
Let's do it. I mean, and imagine, but here's what
success looks like. Original Wade Forbes.
I would love it. But you know what success looks like? Somebody in your organization doing this on a regular basis as an extension of how you all meet together and come together, and what you do when you help other human beings push the noise away and let them do what they're really good at.
Yep.
I mean, that's a gift that your organization gives, Jamie. And if you have somebody who can do this visually in your organization, I bet they're there and they were told they weren't allowed to draw, or there was a stigma to it and they stopped. But success looks like these coming out of lots and lots more conversations.
Well, you know what? So every week, speaking of this and speaking of drawing, we have two designers that are absolutely amazing. Like, holy cow, they're good. So a couple weeks back, every week, a different staff member leads our weekly meeting. And at the end of the meeting, they do a quick, brief 5-minute training or so, right? So the training, and they usually pre-record a video, and record it and all that kind of stuff. What he did in 5 minutes blew my mind, because he's an illustrator, but he started drawing out a bottleneck caricature. And he started just kind of drawing it with a pencil, and then he started coloring it in. Then he put it into Illustrator, and then he started messing with it. And pretty soon he had a live character in about 5 minutes. And it was just like that off the top. And it blew everybody away. Like, holy cow, he had music to it and all this stuff. And it made our meeting so entertaining. It's almost like our meetings have become like, okay, what's going to happen during the training at the end? Like, who's next? What are they going to do? And you nailed it. It's being creative, being different, and allowing people to thrive at what it is they really, really love and enjoy to do. You nailed it.
For so many years of my life, I was known as a labor category. So your job is this, and this is what you will be, and this is who you are. And I had to break free. I illustrated a book over the summer by John Bostock, who's the CEO and co-founder of Truman's, called The Elephant's Dilemma. And that's exactly it. An elephant as a baby is chained and believes that that's the life that is out there for them. And as that elephant ages, the chain stays there, and the elephant retains that fear that it can't break free. And how many humans do you know that right now that are being told to do a job the same way everybody else did? So there's this great book that I learned in when I was in theater school. It's called The Deadly Theater. And you do a play like Les Mis in New York, and you take all the actors and the costumes and you put them in a box and you send it to Toronto, open the box, and you do this play in the same way, same type of cast members, same costume, put the play back in a box, send it to London, do the same play, do the same costumes. The Deadly Theater, there's no creativity. If I said, Jamie, I originated a role and I want you to do it the exact same way in a different city at a different time, you'd look at me and say, what do you need me for? And how many people are in jobs like that right now? Nobody told me to start doing this when I was working for the military, but I said, you guys are too busy to read what you're writing for one another. How can I get your attention? We're screaming for one another's attention. So I imagine there's lots of people in your organization that have a way that they could probably bring those meetings to life in any organization, not just yours. But yeah. It's being given the freedom to try.
Well, and in our organization, everybody creates their own job role and responsibility.
Oh, I love it. That's how it should be.
Yeah, we absolutely love it. We give them some parameters to start, but we kind of let them go off in their little area of expertise that they really enjoy. And sometimes roles completely change. And it's interesting to see that go. So I can't thank you enough. How do people get in touch with you? How do they find out more about Wade Forbes?
So this is funny. I mean, I'm still brand new at this. I've been doing this full time since March. So Redtail.com is a company that my wife and I started. And the funny part, Redtail, TALE, is we're helping you tell a better story. So my wife does voiceovers and I do the drawing, and we're starting to do instructional videos where people can hire us to kind of bring all that together for an idea that they're trying to express. But the red tail part is I love hawks, and I used to see hawks on my commuting. I would commute an hour each way every single day. And I'd say this was a 12 hawk drive. And when I tried to name my company after something hawk related where I lived, there was 500 companies with hawk names. So we said, let's do a play on words. We'll do Redtail.com. And we've been having a blast. My wife joined the company full time in July, and the two of us are sitting here in our home and letting our kids see the most accurate bring your child to work day of our era. What does it take to do this and to be home together? It takes these things, guys. Pay attention. And we're loving it. I look across the table at my kids and I'm like, what do you think I should draw for this? And they said, do this, Dad. And I'm like, yes, that's perfect. That's what I needed. So limitless.
Congratulations. I love the fact I work with my wife. I love the fact that you work with your wife. And it's fantastic, man. You're living a dream for a lot of people. So thank you for sharing, man. It's awesome, Wade.
Thank you for your energy, Jamie. I noticed that you were really happy and having a company with your wife too. And I think that's something we really have to embrace. Is we're very fortunate that we can look across the table and see another human that we want to spend the most time with.
Yeah.
And professionally now too. It's
Isn't
fantastic.
that true? Yeah. There's sometimes where, hey, don't go knock on our door right now. Nope. Yep. But generally it's awesome. I wouldn't want to work with anybody else as much as I want to work with her. And so it's really blessed here. So thank you.
Yep. Well, thanks again for having me on. This was a real treat. This is the only second one of these I've ever done, and I think I'm blushing. So that's a good sign.
That's awesome. Well, is there anything else you'd like to say before we wrap?
I think the last thing that I would want to say is we're going to be dead for millions, billions, and trillions of years. Why not stay up late tonight? It's a quote that I haven't illustrated yet because I'm saving it, I think, but I've done about 218 quotes on LinkedIn for every day that we've been home during COVID, and I'm trying to help people reflect and find hope and joy. So if people are looking for a little more in their life, please follow me. And I'm an uplifting guy, and I try to put out things that I don't see other places to help people find the best version of themselves. So thanks again.
Well, if you ever get bored and you need another topic, one of my favorite sayings is do something as if it's the last time you're ever going to do it. And if that's a motivator for you, I'd love to see what your brain would come up with that. Thank you again, Wade. I really appreciate it. Can you hold on just for one quick second and I'll wrap us up here? Okay.
You got it.
I hope you've enjoyed my conversation with Wade Forbes. I think he's absolutely incredible. He's nailed it. He's ticked the boxes. He's taking this category and turning it upside down, creating something with his wife and voiceovers and art and bringing it all to life. Talk about taking the grayscale of business today into a dynamic and flourishing array of colors. I just absolutely enjoy it. And I am so glad you got a chance to listen to this discussion. Again, we were talking about pivoting for the right reasons at the right time. And Wade Forbes is illustrator of Redtail Communications. What a great story and how he came up with that name. I really hope you enjoyed this. If you have any questions or anything and you're watching this in a replay, still ask questions in the comment section there. I will make sure to get it off to Wade Forbes. And if you want to learn more about him, you can go to redtail.com. That's REDTALE.com to learn more. So thank you so much for tuning in. And remember, create your own ripple.